The finale came out for The Acolyte, the latest Star Wars show on Disney Plus, and I've been watching it week to week. I do personally have some criticisms of it. However, largely the backlash that I've ended up seeing online, it hasn't felt like substantive criticism. So today we're going to go over a 20-minute video by a channel called Star Wars Theory. We're going to see what his complaints about it are, because I mean 20 minutes, it's got to be substantive, right? Anyways, I'm just going to give the blanket spoiler warning. If you haven't watched it yet and you care about spoilers, probably watch it before watching this video.
Fulfill your destiny. TheorySabers.com.
Finally, the end is here, and I couldn't be more happy that this show is actually over. And that really pains me to say this, because I would have loved for it to be everything that I had hoped for it to be, which was something really cool. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And I'm going to explain my reasons in depth here in this video. Before we begin,
because like you're opening with, I wish it was cool, but it wasn't. Please elaborate. Hey, Becca.
A happiness that the show is over, I'm doing a 15% sale on TheorySabers.com, which is my brand. So let's get into this. We pick up from episode 6 with Osha wearing the helmet, who ends up having some kind of spasm and sends Chimera into a weird
it. So, from what I understood, Osha put on the Cortosis helmet, which blocks out all other kinds of senses, and it's just you and the Force in there. And Osha was having trouble wearing it.
In that world, much like Anastasia did to poor Torben when she got all close and personal to tell him that she'll never deny him and always give him what he wants. Who later offed himself for literally no reason. Do you guys remember Torben?
No reason? Dude, Torben lived with the guilt for years, dude. Torben realized, oh, thanks for becoming a beef, Becca. But Torben was tormented. Why the fuck do you think he took his vow of silence or whatever? Why the fuck do you think he just stuck to that instead of doing any other Jedi shit? Like going out on missions. Dude just meditated. He was haunted by his guilt of being the inciting incident that led to the monasteries burning down in the end. Thought he was doing the right thing, and it led to a bunch of people dying, and it broke him. But yeah, no reason why he drank that poison.
Yeah, poor guy. Anyways, much like that, Osha has some power surge, and it makes Chimera's eyes all black as he finally takes the helmet off. Now, personally, I didn't really understand this scene. I was thinking maybe she's drawing on some powers from her mother, but also, who really understands?
I will agree here. I didn't really get where the why Chimera's eyes were turning black as well. It was definitely as if some kind of witch protection, because Osha comes from a family. Yeah, let's go with family. A family of force-sensitive witches in space. And when the Jedi first went to confront them, Torben was put under a sort of illusionary mind control where one of Osha's mothers, because she has two, because the show is woke and everybody loves it, Torben was put under mind control, and his eyes went fully black like Chimera's was in that previous clip. So, it didn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. I didn't feel that part got really explained thoroughly. Though, maybe they're setting up for season 2. I mean, that's kind of the vibe I got with the way they ended the episode.
understands anything in the show. Anyways, the scene was kind of like a Professor Xavier sort of moment from Logan where he just loses his ability to control his powers and just paralyzes everyone around him. Switching to May and Soul, she uses the droid that she reset to factory settings like an iPhone to break free from the shackles that Soul bound her to on the table, where he's called the Jedi to come in and explain everything to them. She lures him towards her by making him overly emotional, no big surprise there, for killing her mom, and she electrifies him and runs away to the escape pod, abandoning ship like Grievous.
Time to abandon ship.
Now, instead of continuing to run, he runs after her, stops for a second, yells her name, and then continues to run, at which point it's too late and she gets away. As Soul chases her in an asteroid field, the Gopher tracker guy gets angry and sabotages his ship by yanking out wires. Why? Just because. I don't really know. Maybe someone knows the answer in the comments. Let us know, please. Maybe.
This part did make, like, not much sense to me. The closest I could parse out with this specific scene was he didn't necessarily want May to be doing whatever the fuck she was doing, but Basil, that's his name by the way, was like, he wanted to stop her, but he didn't want Soul to shoot her down, because like, I'm willing to bet Basil, I forget how to actually pronounce it, I forget, I'm pretty sure he didn't want anybody to actually get hurt. Because, you know, he is working with the Jedi. They kind of uphold the peaceful defenders trope. And maybe this guy just believes in that and doesn't think people should be killed by the Jedi. Who knows?
Maybe he smelled danger. I don't know. They crash land on Brendok.
Well, to be fair, the reason Soul figured out it was May instead of Osho was because Basil was making a big stink about her.
Esther gets another joke about having diarrhea during hyperspace from the politician who somehow also knows that she has tummy problems and also knows the bigger issue.
She doesn't have tummy problems. It's a head thing. It's essentially like she gets vertigo on spaceships. That's not tummy problems. That's psychological.
That the Jedi have been slain. Who told him about this? How did this get out? I don't know. Now, just like Snarky J mentioned,
Matt, the Jedi are a big organization. Rumors slip, dude. That's kind of how. And besides, there is probably informants among the Jedi that side with the politicians. Who knows? The show really depicts that the Jedi Order is not as black and white as people think it is. It's grayer than that, and it really highlights the issues among the Jedi Order, which lead up to the eventual downfall of the Order and the Republic broadly. I mean, if you pay attention to narrative anyways.
I'm thinking this is probably some sort of an inside joke that Leslie has with her wife, which is all cute and fun, but please don't keep interjecting that stuff into Star Wars. There's no reason why a Jedi should have diarrhea or vomiting when they're traveling in space. It's a Star Wars.
It's like having seasickness when on a boat. That it's literally what they're drawing the parallel to, essentially. That like that's okay.
Star Wars. Powerful Jedi Master goes against some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy and saves the day, but furiously needs a toilet when she goes into hyperspace, which is quite often.
This dude watched the show, right? Was he even paying attention?
I think humanizing Jedi Masters is fun to a degree, but, you know, it gets to a point where, why? We don't see Anakin ever asking to use the toilet.
Why should we humanize Jedi Masters? Maybe it would help make them more relatable to viewers. But who needs representation, right?
Do we?
This is outrageous.
Anyways, nitpick, not really a big deal, but just another, at this point, just another dart on the board. Anyways, this politician who is now in the control room, thanks to the random Jedi guy for letting him in a classified.
Naruto also had sicknesses like Itachi and people loved those details. Did Itachi have sickness beyond the effects of using the Mangekyo Sharingan. Because, like, I know he was going blind from overuse of that. But I don't know if there's anything beyond that. Oh, there was? Okay, then I just don't remember it, because I paid a lot of attention to Naruto in high school, but ended up falling off after a while. Never really disliking it, just not engaging with the manga or anime.
Area. Great work. Has heard that she's covering up a murder investigation. Yeah, that's right. You heard that right. Everyone in the galaxy apparently knows that the Jedi have been dying. Not only that, but it's being literally covered up, except for Grandmaster Yoda.
I mean, a lot of people were around with a handful of from just the May attacks. There was a lot of people that saw what happened. So yeah, word's going to get out in a fucking massive fucking universe such as Star Wars, where there's so many races, so many so many people on different planets and shit. Also, was Yoda even mentioned? Because he pops up at the end, which, I mean, we'll talk to it when we talk to it, because this guy's going over the episode. But I honestly don't remember hearing Yoda be mentioned during the episode whatsoever. I remember for a lot of this season, I was thinking, I wonder if Yoda is going to get a cameo or like an offhand mention, because dude would be around right now. He lived for hundreds of years, like multiple hundreds, and this takes place roughly 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So yeah, Yoda would most definitely be a Jedi Master by then.
Pretty cool. Nice. It's just a publicly known news thing at this time that both she has tummy issues and she's covering up a murder. Nice. I wonder who else knows about this information. Or rather, I wonder who told this politician about this information. Maybe it was Ki-Adi-Mundi. Maybe. She says she has the authority to take independent action if there's no larger threat. You know, because like 10 Jedi Masters dying isn't really anything to worry about. Especially after a time of peace, like Ki-Adi-Mundi said, 1,000 years, no one's really died, the Sith have never returned. But here we have, like 10 to 15 Jedi Masters that are just dead. Nobody sensed it. It's a cover-up story. It's all good. Vernester's got it under control. Yoda.
Well, all the Force-sensitive people, or almost all the Force-sensitive people, are part of the Jedi Order. And all these Jedi were killed on a planet that was like... It had some merchants or something on the outskirts of a big forest, and then an extremely dense forest where that has the reputation of everybody that goes in there doesn't come out. So a lot of these Jedi go into there and only some of them come out. That makes sense to a lot of the local populace. And of course people are going to fucking talk about this.
Didn't sense anything, nothing out of the norm, just business as usual on Coruscant at the Jedi Temple. I think what blows my mind is that so many people know about dead Jedi during a time of supposed peace that Ki-Adi-Mundi preaches.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
All the Jedi...
Huh. Maybe the Jedi were covering up that shit because they wanted to appear as the perfect keepers of the peace that they want to be. I don't know.
In that room with Ki-Adi-Mundi knew. This random politician heard it from another politician or someone. He knows, Vernestra knows, Sol and Osha and May and all these other people know. Pretty much everybody but Yoda. The politician pushes...
It's a handful. Okay, after the planet where all those Jedi were killed, where Kelnaka was making or taking his exile, just living out his exile there, it was primarily just Osha, Sol, and like that second party that went to go check on shit. That, like, there's multiple scenes of her gathering up lots of people. So yeah, there's quite a few people that know, but I'm willing to bet the general public didn't hear about it. Because, you know, corruption runs deep.
To have Vernestra investigated if she doesn't come up with the suspect and neutralize the issue and have it under control. So inevitably, in the end, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Also, I just want to point out, I actually kind of like that politician, because that politician was pushing to have a third-party check and balance on the Jedi Order. And Vernestra is covering it all up because she legit wants to maintain her power. Like, the exact same shit of what went down with Palpatine taking power.
Hymir and Osha continue their lovers' quarrel, which in the end, of course, works out. She denies him right now to be trained, and we move to them leaving the planet. But not
Lovers'
before,
quarrel?
wait for it, Darth Plagueis shows up in the shadows. That's right, Darth freaking Plagueis. Creeping out from a dark cave as he peers in the shadows at them. Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Like, he does got the Sith eyes, and what's the issue with a split-second cameo? It did make me wonder, was Plagueis the one putting Hymir into that mind control thing when he was trying to take the helmet off of Osha? Because Plagueis actually wants to push Osha towards the dark side. And a lot of Hymir's arc is about how he wants to find an Acolyte to build up his power, all that fun shit. I'm willing to bet Hymir learned from Plagueis and wants to stop him. And wants to kill him and take his power. I'm pretty sure we've all heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. We know how that plays out. We saw the movie, right? We all watched Revenge of the Sith.
Where the hell was he this whole time? Nice of him to show up.
In the cave. Obvious.
Oh, an influential and galactically respected man, super rich, known as Higo Damask, that isn't supposed to be alive yet. And yet, if he is, he'd be no more than 15 or maybe 20 years old. But really...
So... maybe Palpatine isn't the one that kills Plagueis. Maybe Hymir's the one that kills Plagueis, and then Palpatine kills Hymir. But Hymir tells Palpatine about his previous master. We don't know yet. We've just had one season of a new show.
Let's be real. The age thing is not the issue, just like the age thing wasn't the issue with Ki-Adi-Mundi. Yet, the other side that supports the show so much made that to be the focal point, that's what people are pissed off about. You know what? I don't care. Change a birthday. Whatever.
Personally, I think a lot of the backlash is largely because it cast a black actor as the main character.
No big deal. Rather, it's his fascination with Osha and May that keeps him a creepy lurker in the back.
Huh. Why would a Sith Lord want to monitor and observe people that were not born naturally? Huh. I don't know.
Learned that the witches were the first to manipulate the Force to create life. And he got so turned on by it, so intrigued, that he made it his life's work to try and fail at it, at what only the witches could do and succeed at. God, you know, this show just...
Who created Anakin Skywalker? Like, we all know Anakin Skywalker had a mother on Tatooine, but didn't have a father. I thought it was Plagueis who got that to finally work. He finally got to create life out of midichlorians or whatever, and that led to the birth of Anakin Skywalker. Am I missing something? Like, what Sith brazenly goes out of their way or like does things out in the goddamn open without being forced into the open kind of thing? Because like Hymir didn't directly announce himself or whatever. He's known as the fucking stranger for the most of the show.
Spits all over Legends. And one of my favorite characters of all time that I wanted to have in live action so badly. And this is how they do it. A freaking shoehorned moment just to say, here he is. Here's Darth Plagueis. We put him in, and we're going to do a lot more with him with season 2, as Leslie Headland has said. He's keeping tabs on the girls because they're a virgins in the Force, and they were created by the Force itself. So by the time Anakin rolls around, he's feeling even more like a failure. It's like the Oprah show. Virgins for you, a virgin's for you, another virgin's in the Force for you. Hey, we'll give you 2. Why not? I really don't like this show. I really don't like it for what it's done to the characters, for how it's interjected itself and shoehorned itself into right before The Phantom Menace, which is what George started writing.
It's 100 years before The Phantom Menace. It's not right before. Dude.
In 1994, 1995, in his little room, as we've seen in the behind the scenes.
There is drama inherent in it because there is a lot of betrayal and a lot of things like that going on.
Which is supposed to be 1,000 years of peace. 1,000 years of no Jedi dying, no Sith showing up, and now it's just all ruined. You know, and my question is...
So you don't like the idea of Jedi covering up all that stuff to maintain their strong image. You just want them to be that strong image with no actual depth. I personally like having depth to stories. I like being able to think about stuff and how it ties into other shit.
I wonder who signed off on this. And as we've heard Leslie Headland say, that Pablo signed off on the majority of things from that interview she had, as well as, of course, I would imagine Dave Filoni would sign off on things too. Why is this okay to sign off on? You know, the majority of people have a problem with it, so it obviously doesn't make sense to put this in the show.
The majority of people have a problem with it? Do you just stick to conservative circles? Because, you say the majority of people have a problem with it, but then you also say, the defenders are not enough of us, but there's enough people that enjoy the show to green light a second season? I'm confused what their narrative is.
I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Let's continue, shall we? And if you're still here, good for you. Jedi Master Pepto-Bismol blasts off into hyperspace to Brendok as Sol tries to find May back at the Witch Coven in the mountains where they retreat to. We see the bridges that Sol tried to hold up with the Force and remember just how ridiculous that scene really was, where he could have easily held on to the girls and avoided all of this instead of struggling to hold the extremely heavy bridges from collapsing. Then at the last moment...
Oh, it's almost like people don't make the absolute perfect decision in moments of crisis. Huh. Weird.
Choosing just one of the girls and then running to actually grab her when he was just using the Force. Hold the bridges, could have held the girls, failed at doing that, failed at holding just one, then ran over to grab her. Well,
frankly, I do actually kind of agree with this point. The optimal play would be to grab both of the girls and then Force pull them towards you, the safety. He could have saved both, but he made a mistake in how he should execute that action in the moment and has lived with the guilt of it for the rest of his fucking life, dude.
All right. I guess he was Force drained from holding the bridges up. May climbs up from where Sol leaped to grab Osha's hand as a kid. And, it's like poetry. It rhymes, or, something like that. They all walk around and reminisce about the bricks burning from a candle, and Osha gets inside. Chimere and Sol fight. It's very Matrix-esque. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, slow-mo. And I'm looking forward to Shadiversity's breakdown of the fight scene, because, look, I already noticed a crap ton, but we'll just leave it to the professionals to break that down. Let's handle the lore here.
Yeah, leave it to the guy that talks about sword fighting that constantly gets debunked by, actual historians and sword fighters. Leave it to the dude that thinks AI art is going to replace art to talk about proper sword technique.
Which is what I do. May tells Osha the truth about Sol killing Anastasia, their mother. They failed to leave out the part where she turned into a sharp-toothed, long-faced demon creature with black eyes that turned into black evaporating smoke, who also started to take the child and turn her into a black evaporating smoke, disintegrating her as she started to look afraid and bewildered. And then Soul did the right thing by eliminating the threat when previously they had taken over the mind of one of their Padawans, and he's now the bad guy. Soul.
Yeah, no, fair point. Soul felt guilty about killing their mother for a very long time. So much so that he didn't tell Osha about it. Now, personally, because like with that scene, Soul was trying to bring Osha back to the Jedi for training, and then the mother starts turning into the Force smoke, and then May starts turning into the Force smoke, and then Soul, like, from what I remember, she was mostly Force smoke. Soul put his lightsaber right into that Force smoke, and then that killed her. And then her dying words were, "I was going to let Osha go with you." Like, so it turns out that the mother, who was turning into Force smoke to leave with May, the one that already had the ritual done on it, or done on her, she was going to leave with that daughter and leave Osha to go with the Jedi, because that's what Osha was saying she wanted. But it gets a little more gray than that too.
Soul did what he thought was right, what he thought was best in the moment. But yeah, sure, he killed her for no reason, I guess. She confesses that she failed as a Jedi because she couldn't contain her anger against her sister. And as Leslie said, the Jedi are apprehensive to train Anakin because of their failure with Osha. Nice. It's a good thing they had...
That kind of makes sense, and as well as Jedi have been around for a very long time. Osha wouldn't have been the first one to stop getting the training due to emotions being hard to control. It's, at least to me, it seems pretty fucking obvious that the Jedi won't continue training people that let their emotions get the better of them, because they want their Jedi Knights to be centered. They want their Jedi Knights to it's like, when a Jedi is centered, they're goddamn unstoppable. Just ask Count Dooku. But when a Jedi is off balance, it's a lot easier for them to be taken advantage of, for like their mind being clouded and all that fun stuff.
So many warnings, and they got to practice on Osha's failure, so they would know exactly what not to do when Anakin shows up, to avoid, a whole bunch of destruction and stuff. Oops, I guess not. Lightsabers smoke and spark now.
I don't get that point. What was he making?
Anger against her sister. And as Leslie said, the Jedi are apprehensive to train Anakin because of their failure with Osha. Nice. It's a good thing they had so many warnings, and they got to practice on Osha's failure, so they would know exactly what not to do when Anakin shows up, to avoid, a whole bunch of destruction and stuff. Oops, I guess not. Lightsabers smoke and spark.
Like, but the Jedi were apprehensive about training Anakin because he was old. He was older than the average age that they induct children into their order. And his thoughts were always with his mother, who was left as a slave on that planet. Like, did you watch episode 2? The Attack of the Clone? The whole, like, a big part of why Anakin was pushed towards the dark side was because he couldn't save his mother, and he couldn't let go of those emotions. He couldn't control that. He means even if they trained Anakin, he still would have turned into Vader regardless. No, the Jedi ended up training Anakin. Obi-Wan trained Anakin. So, like, I just don't get his point.
Now, I guess that's a thing, whereas in the prequel trilogy, it just doesn't happen.
Sense great fear in you, Skywalker.
What point is he making with all these?
Bunch of destruction and stuff. Oops, I guess not. Lightsabers smoke and spark now. I guess that's a thing, whereas in the prequel trilogy, it just doesn't happen.
Huh, maybe technology got better in the 100 years between the show and the movies.
Sense great fear.
Also, the sparking off of lightsabers is a cool aesthetic. It helps. It makes the saber clashes where they're just standing there together a little bit more interesting.
You, Skywalker.
I hope I don't get copyrighted. Oh, whoa, whoa. Did you not see that ember off of Obi-Wan's arm? Whoa, that doesn't make sense. It should just instantly cauterize. It shouldn't light any... Whatever.
Sol disarms Chimere, and he's about to kill him like Mace Windu did to Palpatine.
You are under arrest, my lord.
But May intervenes, beats him up, and disarms him like he's nothing, and saves the day. She throws the lightsaber away, which clearly was not from TheorySabers.com, because it dents and cracks from a simple little toss into the wind.
While being bashed around. Okay.
Exposing the Kyber crystal. She wants Sol to stand trial and confess that he eliminated their mom. He says that they were created by the Force, that they're not even twins and they're just one person, and that creating a entity like that is a very dangerous power. Someone who is extremely powerful could only do that. And he's right. Nobody else in the galaxy was able to do it. Not Plagueis, not Palpatine, nobody else. But Leslie Headland's randomized new characters that she created and shoehorned in to right before the Phantom Menace. Osha shows up.
Weren't they witches of Dathomir, or was that just speculated by Torben? I think it was. Because, like, the Force-sensitive witch cult is already established in Star Wars canon. Please watch the Clone Wars TV show, the 3D one. It's really good.
Sol confesses and answers all of Osha's questions, and basically proves to her and the audience how he protected her for all of those years, from the Jedi kicking her out, sending her away, rejecting her from being a Jedi, which is what she wanted. He essentially protected her and saved her. He confesses his love for her like a daughter, and she uses the first Force choke, I guess, ever in Star Wars here, and that's what it's supposed to, I suppose, establish. And it does exactly what Chimere ordered May to do from the start, which was to kill a Jedi without a weapon, to use, the Force, the dark side of the Force. And Osha chokes the absolute life out of Sol, who allows her to do this willingly by saying it's okay as he drops to his knees. And
Because Sol was filled, like, completely filled with guilt over his actions, and he felt, as I'm willing to bet, he felt that it was some kind of penance of his to let Osha do that or some shit, because he was clearly he clearly couldn't let go of his feelings towards Osha. It's almost as if it's telling the story, or hitting the narrative beats of how Jedi are meant to cast away those feelings so shit like this doesn't happen. Like, the Jedi don't want more Sith.
and we see what looks to be a CGI tear speed run down his cheek. Nice. $180 million budget. Can't even get a proper CGI tear in there. But hey, I guess, the CGI in Anakin's pear bite from Attack of the Clones isn't any better. But mind you, that budget was like almost half of this.
If Master Obi-Wan caught me doing this, he'd be very grumpy.
And also about 22 years earlier. She turns the blue crystal to red. So let's pause for just a second here. Okay, shall we have to explain?
Oh, is he going to get mad at us seeing a corruption of a Kyber crystal? Is he mad that Sith Kyber crystals are not synthetic anymore, and that the crystals themselves are attuned to the Force wielder that uses them? Because, like, In Legends, the Jedi consulars used green lightsabers because they were like more force wieldy. I think it was Knights. I can't remember the specific term, but the Jedi that were more in line with the saber dueling and the saber techniques ended up with the blue crystals. And like they still had force powers, but they weren't as great with them. Which is like why Obi-Wan was still pretty good in all 8 parts of the Force, but his best skill was his saber fighting. And then Yoda, who everybody knows as like a hot, powerful Force user, had the green lightsaber. However, with the merging of LucasArts and Disney, they kind of changed things up so that a kyber crystal reflects the... So I'm going to go with soul. The soul of the wielder. So essentially, I believe crystals start out like colorless and until a Jedi finds them, and then they get their color depending on the Jedi that they met. And when Sith have their red crystals, it's because it's been corrupted by the dark side of the Force. And I personally think that's narratively way fucking cooler than Sith just made synthetic kyber crystals because they couldn't go to the mines. I love the idea that that instead of making a fake kyber crystal to compete with real kyber crystals, they killed Jedi and corrupted their crystals, turning them red. I think that's kind of cool. That's just me.
Explain the whole crystal thing to you guys, because I know this is going to be probably controversial and a lot of people may not know or understand of it. You might be new to the channel or whatever. So Disney created this new rule when they took over Lucasfilm and bought it, that red lightsabers are no longer synthetic like what they used to be when George Lucas owned Star Wars. They're now turned red by bleeding the crystal. Kind of like a mood ring, you know, if you're angry, it turns red. And you do this by pouring your hatred into the crystal itself. It's not an easy feat to do. Darth Vader did this and failed several times in the Vader comics. Here's a clip from one of the comics that I covered.
Throwing all of his hatred, betrayal, fear, sorrow, and everything broken within the boy who dreamed of becoming a Jedi. As lightning crackled from the fiery skies above and lava swirled around him like the pain within his black soul, he let out a scream as if he were being born 1,000 times.
Until finally getting it right. Mind you, he was conflicted, of course. However, much more powerful than Dagan Gera or Osha or May, and I believe he's been through a lot more pain than any of them combined. Anakin lost so many people and was born into slavery, but hey, I guess Osha can do everything easily. Soul dies, Kimir is happy.
You really want to get into that one? Okay, Anakin lost his mother, yes. Anakin lost... From Padme, that was his own fucking fault. Who else did Anakin lose? I mean, with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the 3D show, there's a lot of planting the seeds for Anakin's fall with how Ahsoka got treated by the Jedi Order. Like, they set up those dominoes in that show. So, and we just have one season of Osha with pretty understandable motivations. Like, she wanted to be a Jedi. Everybody around her didn't want her to be, except her one supportive mother. Her other mother was not supportive of that at all. She wanted Osha to live the life that the mother wanted for her, not Osha to live her own life, kind of thing. And then for many, many, many years, Osha is told that her own sister maliciously burned down her family home kind of thing. And like killed everybody there. And that's what Osha believed for the longest time. And then in this episode, her trust in those foundations cracks and breaks apart, and she's overcome with all the rage in the world kind of thing. So thematically, it absolutely made sense to me that Osha's crystal would be corrupted. I personally actually didn't know about the Darth Vader's comic where he's like putting a bunch of effort into corrupting a crystal. That does seem cool. It does kind of seem to undercut Vader, because like Vader is supposed to be, well, he was supposed to be the strongest force wielder to ever live, and then Obi-Wan played what's a joke about cutting somebody up? Whatever. Obi-Wan cut off his limb, cut off all of Anakin's limbs and essentially severed his growth within the Force, so he would forever remain, in effect, he would forever remain just a shadow of his former potential and could no longer become more powerful than Palpatine kind of thing. But in the moment, Obi-Wan thought Anakin was going to die there, on Mustafar.
And goes to console her, where she gets angry, lashes out, ignites the saber, which is now bleeding, so it starts to turn red, and she looks very shocked and confused. Vernestra and the band of Jedi from Wish arrive, who can't use the Force to find the most powerful Force manifested Chosen One children's, Osha and May in the galaxy, 2 miles from them. They have to follow the Gopher tracker guy to lead them. Nice. The Force works in mysterious ways, I suppose. Vernestra feels the presence of her former Padawan, Chimere, and she uncovers Soul's body, who has moved like 3 times at this point, but, you know, whatever, blue.
What? Like he's moved a little bit within the scenes? So what? What's the big deal with that? I mean, they probably did multiple recordings over multiple days, and they probably didn't have an exact outline of where he was supposed to be lying or whatever.
Happened in the prequels and originals too, I guess. I guess the Force is just strong with him. Osha and May meet up at the tree from their childhood as they hug and crouch, and then Chimere shows up, saying, "If I sense you, so can the Jedi. But that's the thing, Chimere. They can't sense them. So they need the tracker." Osha says that she wants to go train with him.
Maybe Chimere is trying to put extra pressure on the two so that he can get the outcome he wants by manipulating the events. Kind of what Sith do.
And to let May go. So they hear the Jedi tracker nearby, and they got to make a fast decision. So May says that the Jedi are going to use her to get to both of them. So the easy answer is, Chimere says, let's just give her Alzheimer's. I have this power where I can completely wipe her mind and make her forget about everything, including her own identity. You know, I guess Chimere could have used this against the Jedi, but maybe he forgot about it. It's the irony of that power.
Okay, so in my understanding, in order to do that to somebody that's like a Jedi and would be resisting it, would take way the fuck more effort than somebody who's willingly letting that happen to them. But yeah, let's just pretend Chimere's weak.
I suppose. Because that would be quite a massive plot-changing ability. Imagine, you know, fighting someone and then mind-wiping them mid-battle, and then they're like, why am I here? Oh, you know what? I don't even know how to wield a lightsaber. What is the Force? But then I guess you could be like Rey, and you could just have someone say the Force, and then they'll all of a sudden know how to use it. So, you know, in the end, Chimere kind of gets what he wants. He wanted the rule of 2. He wanted an Acolyte. So he mind-wipes May.
Yeah, Chimere wants the rule of 2. He wants to be the master, but he needs an Acolyte that's strong enough to help him take out Plagueis.
With a wave of his hand, super quick, and that's that. Osha, who is back to loving her sister again after having, 50 different split personalities during the show, literally is given...
I will agree there, Osha did seem to flip a fair bit. Or not a fair bit, more so that she seemed very quick to change sides. Granted, it's 8 episodes of what felt like it should have just been a movie. But hey, let's not... Honestly, I do think Star Wars, like Disney, should just stick to movies. Because, like, if The Acolyte was made as a movie, I think it would be a lot better.
A memory wipe, which is one of the most horrible diseases that a human can get, which is Alzheimer's, gets arrested by the Jedi, and the two literally completely leave. They literally piss off. They just leave her there, confused, not knowing who she is, and get arrested by the Jedi. Nice. Cool. While...
Honestly, I do think they should have taken May off planet. Let Osha and May have, like, a day together to just be sisters again without all this shit. But they are kind of playing into the tragedy of Osha never really getting to spend time with the sister she cares about, despite all her conflicting feelings.
Osha leaves with her new boyfriend, Chimere. Lost and confused on her identity, May is taken to Vernestra, who stands like Palpatine, says, remove her restraints, and then, get this, she says, leave us.
Oh, you just heard about Trumpomania? Yeah, it is so fucking dumb.
You no longer need those. Guards, leave us.
The whole show is just a very copy-paste of moments of Star Wars, quotes, characters, virginces, Qui-Gon trying to be Soul, or Soul trying to be Qui-Gon. Osha and May are Anakin, the virgins in the Force. Then you got freaking Plagueis coming in. There's a lot of quotes from this episode alone that were in the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. But I guess that helps with this ambiguous, confusing, wishy-washy, diluted dribble of a show for $180 million. Nice. May remembers nothing other than fragments of her childhood. As Vernestra talks about how kind and brilliant and compassionate of a man Soul was, she then stands before a trial and completely throws him under the bus, blaming the killing of the Jedi that Chimere dealt on Soul to cover his own ass, allegedly. She blames all of this trouble.
It's almost as if she's trying to cover up the fact that one of her former apprentices has fallen to the dark side because she wants to remain in power, in unchecked power, that if news did get out that literally a fallen apprentice is killing off Jedi. Where's a little screenshot? Almost there. There. Right there. That politician, she doesn't want him to put... Like I mentioned this earlier. Vernestra doesn't want that politician, I honestly forget his name, doesn't want him to put checks and balances on the Jedi's power. And this is literally her covering up the problem. Like, there is a poison going on, and Vernestra is using a band-aid instead of an antidote. And honestly, I'm just rereading your comment. Don't take space politics too seriously, right? Yeah.
On one flawed man. Literally, that's the quote. One flawed man is the problem. Nice choice of words, Leslie. You know, we aren't all your former boss. Some of us are decent, I suppose. Chimere and Osha hold hands as they look into the sunset. The new Sith baddies out there that Plagueis knows of. The final scene is Vernestra walking into Jedi Master Yoda's quarters, and she says, yo, we need to talk. I guess Yoda, was unaware of all of the killings. It just right over him. He is pretty short after all.
You know what's weird? That they had trouble figuring out who killed all the kids when Order 66 was happening and the Jedi Temple was falling. Wait, actually, didn't Yoda realize? I wonder if Yoda knew that it was Anakin at the time, because he said to Obi-Wan, you'll only find pain, when Obi-Wan needed to confirm. I don't know.
Yet he could sense Anakin killing random Tusken Raiders on Tatooine, sensing Order 66, communing in the Force with Qui-Gon Jinn, or, you know, in general, just sensing the fact that she is lying to him blatantly. But hey, I guess he didn't learn those powers for maybe another 87 years, which is when the Phantom Menace starts. Maybe that's when he had his like growth spurt, and he was like, "Oh, I got some new powers now. Check these out." You know, man, I really went into this show with an open mind. I've been excited for this show since years ago when it was first announced, and I have to say, this is by far and large the worst Star Wars, and it's not even Star Wars. This is the worst show I think I have possibly ever seen. For me, and you can agree or disagree and let me know in the comments, I think this is worse than Game of Thrones final season. I think this is worse than The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I think this is worse than Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi combined. I think this is potentially the worst show I have ever.
What was wrong with Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan? Obi-Wan was kind of fun. I like all Star Wars properties. I had some issues with it, but largely it was enjoyable. That's how I feel about the Acolyte as well. It's got some issues, but it's also got some really cool shit.
Ever seen in my life. Take Star Wars out of it, which confines it and constricts it to even more rules. Just from a writing standpoint of the wishy-washiness of the characters, the overall premise of the witches and the Jedi coming in. You know what? I don't even want to reminisce. I don't even want to reminisce about this show.
Wait, it's your conclusion. You're summing up why you don't like it.
In my life. Take Star Wars out of it, which confines it and constricts it to even more rules. Just from a writing standpoint of the wishy-washiness of the characters, the overall premise of the witches and the Jedi coming in. You know what? I don't even want to reminisce. I don't even want to reminisce about this show. I want to leave it in the dust. We're going to talk about it this week. I'll be on Open Bar, and then I'll be chatting with Gary on Friday Night Tights and with Mahler, and that'll be fun. And then, you know, we'll probably have a few back and forths with the show and stuff for the next maybe a little bit, and then that'll be it. You know, I've never witnessed something so bad, like just bad. And, you know, if you like the show, more power to you. Continue liking the show. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You know, please enjoy it. I'm never, ever going to be a person that'll say, hey, if you like the show, you're not a true Star Wars fan, or you shouldn't like the show. No, dude, I wish I liked it, but I don't. I think it is such shit. I think it is the worst thing I have literally ever seen in a show, media. The fact that this cost $180 million is so embarrassing. I think Leslie should be embarrassed. I think.
Honestly, I don't get why they keep bringing up Knights of the Old Republic movie. It would be awesome if it's done right. Oh, absolutely. I don't get why they keep bringing up, why he keeps bringing up, like, it cost $160 million and previous movies cost less. It's, does dude know about how inflation works and how things start costing more and more? Like, what's the issue with the price on it? What would he rather have spent the money on? Personally, I could think of a few things that they could have spent less money on. Honestly, they should go back to more physical props rather than sticking so much with CGI, and that's its own thing. I don't need to get into it this video.
Lucasfilm should be embarrassed to ever produce garbage like this, and I hope they never will again. But we'll probably get a second season, and we can all talk about it then and enjoy the watch parties. But yeah, that's my.
So, you don't like the show, and anybody who does like the show, more power to them. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And I'm also going to be making content about how I think it's a shit show, and like, okay, but it just seems a little contradictory to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just biased. Probably.
My view on the Acolyte. I hope you enjoyed my sentiments. I don't even know if you could call this a breakdown. It's more like a freaking expose down. I don't know. Again, these are only my opinions. Go check out other people's opinions online. There's a lot of different ones. And hope you all have a great day. May the Force be with you. Always.
Interesting. All right, I can't just click that button. Yeah, largely, I genuinely enjoyed the show. It's a pretty fun watch. The lightsaber fighting was pretty sick. I actually liked the choreography in this more than I liked in Ahsoka, honestly. I think one of my biggest criticisms would actually be that the actor that played Osha and May didn't really differentiate the two characters all that much. Which, I mean, I guess, okay, they're the same person, but they grew up very differently. But the thing is, they had flashback scenes to when they were children, and the kid actor actually differentiated the two quite a fair bit. Now, outside of that criticism, I'm honestly having trouble thinking of issues I legit had with the Acolyte. It's literally just Osha and May were not differentiated as much as I would have liked, and the pacing largely feels off because it really feels like they were trying to make a movie but had to cut it up and stretch it out for 8 episodes of a season. If they were to focus more on creating it as a show, maybe that would be solved. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see with season 2. Just want to take a quick second to thank all the people who have joined my channel membership to become one of my beeps. It means more to me than you know and goes a long way in supporting the channel. So thank you to all of my beeps. I'll see you all next video. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it and a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe for more and connect to the community through Discord. And remember, if you can't be the sharpest tool in the shed, you can always be the hoe.